Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where we share stories about folks that are mistaken for employees by irate customers. And the first story is, A&E nurse embarrassed herself. Background: I am currently living in a neurodisability nursing home for some respite whilst changes are made to home and adjustments and assessments made to my care, etc. Luckily, I'm very happy in this home. They've let me bring one of my cats who is very clingy, and the staff are all lovely. This happened last Monday, but I've not felt well enough to type it up until today. I'm in mobile, but I'll try to make the layout read well. It takes a while to get into the I Don't Work Here Lady because I'm bad at condensing stories. Sorry, but it's all relevant, I promise. The story. Last Sunday, I had a bad fall trying to move from my wheelchair to my bed. Recently, I've kept fainting, which doctors believe is as a result of a stomach condition. I have gastroparesis, and my body not absorbing nutrients making me deficient in many, as well as always being dehydrated, causing the dizziness and subsequent fainting. Where feeling faint, I had tried to lean forward to pull the call bell for support. However, where I had placed my left hand to steady myself to lean forward between the mattress and bed rail, I fell forwards, pulling my shoulder out of its socket. Not unusual as I have EDS, but this was a traumatic dislocation, and twisting my arm behind my head, and I fell onto my bottom. My arm was stuck like this for 10 minutes until help came. Managed to get my arm out and I could relocate the joints. My hip dislocated too, and then I was hoisted into bed. The nurse on shift came and checked me over and said I should go into hospital. She knew I would say no, as I hate hospital. I spent a total of 8 months in hospital last year and 6 the year before because of complications of my physical health conditions. I also have many complex mental health issues, including severe anxiety, PTSD, and a massive phobia of men. A&E, accident and emergency, the UK version of the ER, in particular is somewhere I hate the most, due to how busy it always is, and how many males are both patients, relatives, and staff. The week before I was in A&E because I'd fainted 3 times in 10 minutes and had no recollection. So was forced to go, and struggled so much I tried to take my own life, before discharging myself back to the safety of the care home. So I refused a repeat visit. The next day, my arm had swollen substantially, was more painful to move than a broken bone, and I could barely move it. The nurse made me go into hospital and I started to freak. My parents don't live nearby and I had no one to come with me, and when the ambulance arrived, I was having a panic attack. One of the carers from the home offered to come with me because she was just finishing her shift, and before I knew it, we were off to the hospital in an ambulance. Thankfully, I was allowed to request going to a different A&E from the week before, one I know and that's usually quieter too. We arrived and the carer, we'll call her Nat, was still in her work uniform, which is black work trousers and a light green cotton tunic, with a nurse's watch hanging off the front pocket. She sat with me in the cubicle, and we were chatting away with her keeping me calm and not focusing on the males walking past. As it's A&E, you have to keep the curtains open, unless a member of staff is with you, so everyone could see her sat with me chatting and on our phones, etc. Staff kept walking past and looking in, but that's normal for A&E, with them looking for staff, equipment, OBS, patients' welfare, etc., so we thought nothing of it, even though as time went on, staff were looking far from happy when they looked in, but I put it down to either having lost something or it being close to the end of their shift. 2 hours into me being here and waiting for a doctor to review my x-rays, I tell Nat to go to the waiting room and get herself some crisps, as she was hungry. We had been told the doctor would be with me in 20 to 30 minutes, so knowing that no one was due to come in to see me until then, I felt calm enough letting her go for a couple of minutes. Literally within a minute or so of her going, a nurse walked past my cubicle and looking in and rolled her eyes. She started to walk into my cubicle and I started to get anxious as she looked angry. One thing to add here is that in UK hospitals, staff members called healthcare assistants wear a light green cotton tunic with black work trousers. They are like nurse aides. The conversation went as follows. Nurse: where is that girl gone? Me: only to reception to get some crisps as she is hungry. She'll be back soon, so can we wait until she is, please? As I'd rather not be on my own whilst you do whatever you need do. Nurse: no, she can't just babysit you. There are lots of other patients here, and all she's done is sit here chatting with you and sitting on her phone. You don't even need an EPD. A person who sits with a patient who without one-to-one would be a risk to either themselves or others. As you looked fine with her and I don't pay agency staff to sit down and chat all day. Me: I'm starting to panic and trying to process everything she said and try to stay calm enough to respond, but I'm shaking and my breathing is starting to fasten. I'm also trying and failing to not cry. You can't take her and use her to go to other patients. She's only here to be with me. Nurse cuts me off. You can't tell me where I use my staff. It's a busy department and I need her to help with all patients. You can turn the waterworks off. You weren't crying or panicking when she was with you the whole time, so you can stop it now. Tell her when she gets back to come and find me. I need her to stock the recess cupboard. Me: By now, I'm really struggling to talk and reply, but also angry her implying that Nat was lazy and refusing to work, when she was actually here hours after her shift finished, when she didn't have to be, and she's one of the hardest working staff. No, she has to stay with me. She doesn't work for you, she came with me from my care home. She didn't have time to change from her care worker uniform, and is here because I don't cope in A&E or hospitals, because of my mental health, and she has managed to keep me calm and distracted that I've not had a panic attack or a breakdown whilst I've been here for the first time in years. I'm so angry now, so my breathing is calmed and I'm not crying now. Nurse goes very red and shifting from foot to foot, looking very embarrassed. Oh, I see. I didn't realize. No one told me. I just saw the uniform and guessed she was an agency worker. I'm so sorry. I'll leave you alone. She'll be back soon. She speed walks out of the cubicle, and whilst I'm angry at how she spoke to me, I was more relieved she was gone and a little proud of myself for standing up. If it had been a male nurse, it would have been a very different story. Nat returned a minute or so later, and before I had a chance to explain, the doctor came. I hadn't broken my arm, but had pulled some of the muscle that attaches to your shoulder to your elbow off just below the joint and had twisted it, causing it to bleed internally, and it was this that caused the swelling and pain. The doctor wanted to keep me in, but I told her I was better at the nursing home and my GP can investigate the feigning. In the taxi on the way home, I explained to Nat why we had so many dirty looks from staff when she was sat with me, and it gave us a good laugh for the journey back. Sorry I've made a very full story very long, but hopefully someone found it vaguely interesting. If the nurse happens to read this, I'm sorry for making you think one of your agency staff was slacking off. And next time, I hope you ask the patient first if there is a reason for a person being there. The second story is, customer was cool. A manager tried to fire me. So this is a really old one, like 20 years, but there was a police report filed, so maybe still interesting. This is a long one. Around 20 years back, I worked in hardware support for a corporation. Desktop and server support, physical network installs, heck, I even did phone system punchdowns. This matters. I am on my way home when I decide to swing by my local electronics and media store for a DVD set that had just come out. It had a cool figurine with it. Unfortunately, my favorite color is blue and I had on a blue blouse. I had on slacks with my tag and keycard flipped into my front pocket and a wee wallet stuck in there. Went in, grabbed my box set, and I am heading towards checkout when an older man asks if we have this network cable in longer links. His card is just filled with different links of cable. His son and him were setting up a LAN. Told them I didn't work there and then added in that if they wanted to save some bucks, they could make the cables themselves, and went into a spiel about how to do it and what to get. He was super excited. Cool. I feel a tap on my shoulder and I turn around to see some guy with a button up and a manager's tag on. He was smiling and polite and asked me to come with him. Said he needed to ask me about something, so I went. Got to the area where the bathroom and the water fountains were and the smile dropped. Apparently, he had just started as the assistant manager 2 days before and had been waiting to talk to me. The exact wording is lost to time, but apparently he thought I was someone named Amber who worked there, and since I was late again, as well as advising a customer against a purchase, he was going to have to let me go. Apparently, he missed the "don't work here" part. I explained I didn't work there, and as I was doing this, he interrupted me to ask why I wasn't wearing my name tag, which he would need back, and he reached down and grabbed my tag, which was attached to an elastic clip. He pulled, I dropped the DVD set, crack, and out came my tag, keycard, and wallet. So I cursed loudly because he is standing there holding a tag that clearly does not say Amber and is bleeding all over it. He apparently cut himself when the clip snapped to him, at which point he says something about me scratching him with my nails, of which I didn't have because of work, plus I never touched the guy, and walks through the door still holding my tag and keycard. I scoop up my wallet and went after him. He snatched a phone off the wall and is calling the police. So I am yelling at this point, "Dude, give me my effing tag back." Idiot assistant manager. I was just assaulted. Of course, I freak. 911 operator probably thought he was being assaulted by the way I was yelling. Finally, I calm down and just stand there with my arms crossed, refusing to move with him holding my tag over his head like I am 5 years old. Police show up and we both tell our stories. The older cop pulls him off to the side, then me. Finally, both the cops, him, and I are all standing there. His story, it seems, is that I was trying to steal the DVDs and I had assaulted him when he tried to stop me. The older cop simply asked him, "Why are you holding her tag?" The assistant manager looked down at his hand, still bloody, and starts stammering that he took it so I couldn't leave. Manager has now shown up and I tell my story again. He looked like he had swallowed a bug. Cop asked about the employee Amber. Sure enough, she was already on the floor. It seems the fact that I knew Amber had a habit of being a few minutes late convinced both the cops and the manager. I did press charges. If he had done that stupid crap and then had just apologized, it would have been one thing. But he was clearly feeling big in the britches, and when he made a mistake, decided to lie. The last story is, confused for an employee 5 times in 3 different stores. Last week I, 26 male, went furniture shopping to fill up my new apartment and was looking for very specific things, so I drove around to a bunch of different stores. In the first store I went to, I had the first incident. I was talking on the phone when I feel a tap on my shoulder and turned around to see a little old lady asking me nicely if we had the sideboard she was looking at in different wood colors. I just responded slightly confused that I did not work there and had no idea, but pointed out that I saw an employee walking past here a few minutes ago and sent her in that direction. Nothing too crazy, I just figured she saw me talking about the display furniture on the phone and figured I worked there. 10 minutes later, I was still in the same section, not being able to settle on anything and already on my way out, when I hear someone clearing their throat behind me. I've read a lot of stories on this subreddit and I was already confused for an employee once, so I kinda knew what was coming. I turned around, was promptly asked by a less polite middle-aged woman where a certain section was, and I truthfully replied that I had no clue and just walked away. Now, I wasn't wearing something flashy, only a plain black t-shirt and blue jeans, and the employees at the first store wear very flashy polo shirts in pink, green, and yellow, with the company's name in large letters on the front and back. So I have no idea where they got the idea from. Since I still hadn't found what I wanted, I made my next stop a very famous furniture store with a blue and yellow color scheme. Again, you'd think with a black t-shirt I don't fit into the expected mold of an employee there. Not to make a long story longer, I was confused with an employee there again, twice. At this point, I wondered if I was actually wearing something I wasn't aware of, or if me walking around with my phone in hand, comparing prices and pictures, looked like I was doing inventory. After disappointingly finding nothing I liked, I made my way to a third store. That store didn't have a uniform. The only thing giving away the employees were name tags clipped to their chest. At this point, I want to stress that I did not wear a name tag, because apparently that wasn't obvious, as after 10 minutes in the store, I was cornered by a slightly older couple and told to order them some furniture to have delivered. I did not even get a word, and couldn't tell them I did not work there before they had shoved the order form in my face. I finally got a word in and said I don't work there, and tried to give them back their form, because I literally couldn't do anything with it. They refused to take it back, told me I clearly worked there because I was inspecting the furniture so closely. Doesn't everybody closely look at furniture they want to buy? And to go put their order in the system. I just blankly stared at them, dropped their form on the floor, and walked away. I honestly had no idea what it was about that day. I've been confused for an employee a few times before, but at least those people realized their mistake rather quickly. But 5 times in one day? That was just weird. Thanks for listening. Have a nice day.